Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Live from Bauhaus Studios in beautiful downtown Port Credit, it's the Tom and Rick Show for Wednesday, August the 5th. Tonight's guests are Brian Lambie, Frank Giannone, mixologist Massimo Zitti, musical guest Katya Zook, Justin DeLippi, and tonight's Undercover of Darkness star is Sean Pynchon. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here are your hosts, Tom and Rick.
Good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Tom and Rick Show. Rick, how are you doing this week?
I'm doing good. I got my Wolf mug full of excellent coffee. I'm good.
It sounds like a hard rock band.
It is Wolf mug.
Wolf mug. Folks, we have a very exciting show for you, and our first guest is a longtime friend of mine. I've known him since I was about 14 years old, and he is a longtime Port Credit resident. His family's been here for 50 years, and he is from a company called Red Brick Communications. Am I correct with that, Brian?
That's correct.
Red Brick Communications, and they are a communications and consulting firm that do a lot of work in the political sphere and the environmental sphere, and we've got the ear on the ground in Port Credit. We are in a situation right now where there are discussions about environmentally what's happening with large developments. We've got a fishery here that I know you're a big part of in the Credit River. Tell us what is happening in Port Credit from your expertise.
I don't know, just as a resident, and certainly things are changing, and you know, the business side that we're in is typically people hire us when people are nervous, and usually people are nervous when things are changing, and the neighborhood is changing for sure. Is it changing for better or for worse? If I had a time machine, I wouldn't want to go back in time, so I'd say that overall it's changing for the better. But that does bring with it concerns about things like traffic, affordability, a lot of construction going on across the street, which I know will be a focus for this show today. And that construction also involves fixing past uses in the area. It was a very industrial area for a long time. So all that stuff's complicated, right? And I can understand why people get concerned or nervous, right? But on the whole, I'm good. I think we're, generally speaking, we're moving in the right direction in most areas. I think in a lot of places we have a long way to go. So for instance, if we look at the construction sites across the street, like I personally, I don't think they ever should have been, there never should have been such industrial uses right along the shoreline of Lake Ontario to the degree that there is. And we had tons of them here. If you take stock, right, you got the Imperial Oil Lands, the cement plant, you had this Texaco plant here, you had St. Lawrence Starch, you had a firing range during World War II with a small arms facility.
Oh, I would love that.
Yeah, you got two water treatment plants,
Right.
so sewage treatment plants and two water treatment
Right
plants.
here on the shores of Port Credit?
Yeah, one's in Clarkson and one's
Wasn't one a
Lakeview.
coal plant down there too?
And then the coal plant they got rid of, but the coal plant, I mean, that's the biggest elephant in the room right there is the coal plant. So, you know, most of the shoreline when I was a kid was industrial. A lot of it's green now, so that's good.
Right.
But people are still nerds.
And let's suppose you have a small child and you're thinking of buying in the new Brightwater development, and your kid's going to be, you know, eating dirt.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that if that was your child and you're saying, what have I done moving here? This used to be the Texaco refinery.
Okay, so it's not that hypothetical. I have two kids that are teenagers, and they're trying to they would like to stay in Port Credit. How do they stay in Port Credit when housing prices, like a house costs $1 million if you're lucky,
right?
How are my kids who are 13 and 15? What's their future in the neighborhood? Realistically, that's got to involve mixed residential options for them. That's going to be an entry-level condo or something. So there has to be some of that if my kids are going to have a future here, if only as a starting home. So then there's the safety aspect of it. We used to live in, I know you're having Frank on here from Fram.
Yeah.
I watched the St. Lawrence Starch plant get blown up. It was exciting. The whole neighborhood gathered. It was a fun day, right? The tower went down, all that stuff, or the smokestack. But then I bought a unit in there. and I lived in there for 15 years, and I raised my kids as infants in there, and I felt perfectly safe doing that because of the site remediation work that they do, which is happening across the street. We can also say that my business is about 2 blocks away from where this work is happening. So when those odors go through the air, I mean, you can smell the oil from past uses. It was a brickwork before that.
Right.
You can smell that, and that's frightening, but I'm glad they're carting it away. I'm glad they're digging deep. I'm glad they're removing that stuff. And I know enough about site remediation to know what comes next. And so, yeah, I feel like my kids, absolutely, I would let them buy into those units, presuming that they do the basic things that are done.
It looks
for
like
these
they're
kinds of
going all
sites.
out. That is a big hole across the street. So whatever was in there, it's gone.
I mean, they're digging and they're digging and they're digging.
Oh, yeah.
Now, the questions, I don't know what questions you can ask for Frank, but the interesting
I'm
questions.
all ears right now.
I'd love to know what it's costing them just
Oh,
to
no,
get
we
that
can't.
site to a point where they can build on it safely.
Right.
And
I bet you it's more than you think, and I bet you that he doesn't really care. He's going all out.
Well, they can't not do it now.
No.
Well, they can't do it. They're committed
Yeah.
to doing it now, and the reality is they have to have a certain amount of residential and commercial development on top of that to justify the costs over here. I think something that's interesting for people to consider is there's probably a dozen other properties like the Imperial Oil property in other parts of Canada that are just sitting there with no hope of getting addressed. And ours is getting addressed because we have that combination of land value and urban densification, which now makes it viable for the private sector to go in and provide the money, so taxpayers aren't saddled with it.
But why is it a taxpayer issue in the first place? If Texaco was here, they were profitable here, they made a lot of money in that site, and then they kind of go, we're out of here. Why isn't it on them to leave the land in the situation which they got it?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think when it comes to pollution, prevention is way more effective, like way cheaper than remediation. Way cheaper.
So why didn't someone go after Texaco and say clean that up?
Well, you'd have to go after the brickworks as well that was there a century ago. I mean,
it's
and people
old laws.
followed the laws of the time and everything else. But,
Right.
Certainly I worked on a mine site that was a 100-year-old mine site, and those people walked away, and it cost taxpayers, tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars for Ontario property tax, or Ontario taxpayers
Right.
to fix that site. That's wrong. Now, if you're a mining company, you don't go into a place without an understanding that you will clean it up afterwards. So we changed the way we do things, but a lot of these things are legacy sites.
Now, to change gears a little bit, part of what you do is help governments, people, businesses communicate. We're in the communications business.
Sure.
And we were discussing that we don't really know how social media communication works as well as we should, because it's what we do. So what mistakes do you see people making in general, where you look at them and go, that is the worst way you could have handled that situation?
Yeah. I think arguing is one.
What?
Have you ever seen a post where somebody says, oh, well, I never really thought about it that way. You've changed my mind. Thank you for posting that. Like that never happens really on social media.
Right.
Now, I experiment with different things so that I can get a sense of the flow of these conversations. So sometimes I will dabble in there to get a sense of what works and what doesn't work. But generally speaking, I think everybody and all your viewers, if I give them one thing today, they should have a personal social media plan if they care about their careers. And it's not marketing. We have a free thing on our website that's a guide to building one. But I'm always surprised when I meet elected officials or senior people in government or in the private sector that have never taken the time to write a plan for themselves. You're a celebrity. You should have one for yourself.
And what do you mean by a plan?
So the plan would be like, am I on it? What am I on? Why am I on it? What am I looking to achieve? What are the kind of topics that I will cover? Like should you drink and tweet? Should you drink and post on Instagram?
Right.
Probably not. Put that in writing.
No, it's a lot of times I look at someone's feed and I'll go, oh, they're high.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
just a mistake.
Yeah. Like Tony Clement was a guy who was an innovator on social media, and then he did himself in on social media, right? It's a fine line between success and obliteration. Who's Anthony Weiner, right? There should be a line in his plan. I will not take pictures of my genitals and send them to people. Right?
I think
We're not
that's
talking about
common
complicated
sense.
stuff here, right?
Right.
But anybody who has, spent time in school and cared about it, has prepared for a job interview or prepared a resume that they care about, they should also prepare a personal social media plan for themselves. And it's really, we have a guide that's 2 pages, like it's a simple, helpful guide to the
And
universe.
what's
of
the
how you do
website,
it.
just so we can
Yeah.
So that's
funnel
at
people there?
www.redbrick.ca.
Okay.
But you should end up with a document's about 2 pages, and I think it's particularly important for teenagers. So like my kids, when they approach me and they're 13 and 15, if they want to get on social media, fine, but they need to have a plan first, right? And there are some surprising people that are not on social media. Hazel McCallion is not on social media.
She's a legend.
Why would she? Everybody knows who she is anyway.
Exactly.
But she shouldn't do it on a whim,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Like she should think about it. Rex Murphy is another one. I don't think Rex Murphy from
Maybe
CBC
she has a political handler that says, "I don't think you should ever talk on anything." You know. If you've got your phone in your hand, no. But we don't know that about Hazel, right? That's why.
Yeah.
I trust Hazel to do what she does well, but does she then want to expand into social media? Well, that's something you should think about. And you also have to think
Yeah.
about things like the time and energy that it takes to do it and what your goals are.
What do you think? What do you think if you have your social media? What do you think the frequency of posts and topics that per day that you should do? Is there a number
Again, that
Or
would
is
be
there
in
a
plan,
time?
and it would vary.
on your demographic? So is there a time? I always thought that posting stuff
Yeah.
on is like around 7 o'clock at night. That's a good time to post because most people see it, unless there's a Leaf game on or something.
Right.
So on that, and I'm going to switch to the beer. And normally, like I wouldn't do social media and have a beer, but I'm in your backyard, so I'm going to do this and have a
And
beer.
it's a long weekend.
And
Sort
yeah,
of.
exactly, sort of.
You do what you want.
When to post on different platforms, when the best time is. All of the different platforms that you have will give you demographic information about what they've got, when the best time is to post for that platform if you look for it.
Yep.
All that instruction guide is there
It's
because
all
they
there.
want to promote advertising.
Right.
Where you see the most of it is on places like Facebook and LinkedIn. I'm less familiar with it on Instagram. I
Yeah,
find
Instagram
kind
is
of
kind
boring.
of-
I'm going to show my age, but
We were having this
Yeah.
discussion with some
Yeah.
younger friends the other day, and they basically refer to us as grand
Yeah,
ads.
like-
because we're not on Instagram and the show is not 100%.
I
We're
don't-
getting there. We have an
I
Instagram
know.
page now. We are getting there. Well, Brian, before we let you go, as the community activist you are, what do you think is coming in the next 3 to 5 years for downtown Port Credit? How's it going to look through your crystal ball 3 to 5 years from now?
There's going to be a lot of construction. There's going to be a lot of traffic. People are going to be frustrated. I think on traffic, by the way, like I don't know, like if we freeze everything in time now, I still think we'll have those traffic problems.
Right.
My office looks out onto Mississauga Road, and we immediately know when there's a problem on a highway because Port Credit backs up.
Right.
So that's not going to change. I drive around a lot for work, and I don't know of any part of the Greater Toronto Area where traffic's light.
Right.
It's getting worse everywhere.
Unless somebody wants to build another bridge on their property so
Yeah.
the traffic get over. That's the only way. The
And I
bottlenecks
still think
down
that's
here.
temporary too, right? Like
Yeah.
even after you build that, it
will jam up.
It will jam up. So you're
Well,
like,
I mean,
like
progress is progress, sir. Right?
Yeah.
It's a great
We're 8
area to be
million
in.
people in the Greater Toronto Hamilton area.
Yeah.
And it's only growing. So get comfortable, be nice to your neighbors because you're going to be stuck in traffic.
That's
Brian,
right.
Thank
That's
you very
right.
much for coming in. That's Brian from Red Brick Communications.
Thanks for having me.
And we will be right back. Welcome back, my friends. Rick, we've got quite an interesting and, dare I say, important next guest because the whole town is talking about what is happening south of Lakeshore at the old Texaco factory. And
I think they're going to find out.
I think we're about to find out.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're very happy to have on the show today Frank Giannone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for coming,
Rick.
Frank.
Thank you.
Welcome. And if you don't mind, we're going to jump right into it because as soon as I was talking to people and telling them you were going to be on the show, everyone's got questions. And overwhelmingly, the same questions. So you've probably answered this a million times. But if you could tell us, first of all, in broad strokes, what's happening, what the vision of the project is. And secondly, if you could discuss traffic. It seems like everyone wants to know about traffic. So sorry for jumping right into it so quick, but What can you tell us about
So
that?
let me tell you firstly a bit about the project. So the project sits on just over 70 acres. It's about 3 times the size of the land that we did in the original St. Lawrence Starch development. So the development is a larger scale of what we did there. It's a mix of townhouses along both edges of the property so that we meld into the communities on the east and on the west side. We've got some buildings down the middle and some buildings along the waterfront. A lot of commercial. We're bringing in shops and restaurants and a couple more cafes, both at the top end at Lakeshore Road and where the entrance is to the Loblaws, and at the bottom end down on the waterfront. So it'll be about 3,000 units of housing, a little bit more of a mix than what we did in the original St. Lawrence Starch development, where we had the average unit size in a condo was anywhere from 1,000 to 1,700. There was one building that we did that was 1,750 square foot average. So larger condominiums, good sized townhouses, and we'll be mixing in some smaller condominiums this time.
Right.
So for a total of 3,000 units.
And how much space down there is allotted to public space, where if someone doesn't live in that community, they can go down there, they can play in the parks, they can hang out on the waterfront and so on?
So right now you have the path along the bottom end of the waterfront. That path gets considerably bigger, that whole park, and there's a park that actually comes into the development. Over 20% of the land will be dedicated to parkland and squares, accessible squares like what we did on our original development. So quite a bit of land for that, more than what is required by law, and that was part of the thing. So you push in creating more parkland, it pushes some of the density into some buildings.
Right. And did the COVID crisis, this pandemic, did it ever give you pause where you say, I don't know if thousands of people want to live in the same building?
So one of the things that we have done with our buildings in the past is we don't have massive buildings. The biggest building that we built in Port Credit at St. Lawrence Starch was only 200 units.
Right.
Become very, very different than what you're seeing at downtown Square One or downtown Toronto, where you have buildings that are 400 plus units. So not too tall either. You're not seeing anything that's going to be over 25, 26 stories. So considerably less than what, again, you're seeing in and around the community. A number of our buildings, one of our first buildings that we're going to be releasing for sale is only 75 units. So again, not too large. Very, very boutique style in terms of how we approach each individual building.
Right. And is there a timeline on when you think, well, I'm sure there's a timeline, but what is the timeline for the townhouses being ready or the high-rise being ready?
I suspect that most of our first phase of people will be moving in within 3 years. We go on sale in September.
This September
This
coming
September with the first 2 buildings that are up by Lakeshore Road and by the commercial on Lakeshore Road. And then the townhouses will be a couple of months after that, the first set of townhouses on the west side.
Right. Now, anyone, as soon as you whisper Brightwater to anyone, they're going to tell you their horror story that they already can't get over the bridge. If there's an accident on the QEW, you're already jammed in here, and now there's going to be another 5,000 people. How are they going to get over the bridge? How is it going to impact the community?
So I live on the same side as Brightwater, on the same side of the bridge as those people will live.
Yeah.
Right.
Same side of this bridge as you live.
Yeah.
Right.
So I definitely have empathy for what we're facing. Part of what we've done with our process is we've triggered a process that the city is already well into, and that's trying to find another way across the Great River. They've laid out 5 or 6 alternative bridge locations to get across the river. That's going to be done sometime probably within the next 10 years. Our development charges, what the city and the region get from us to pay for some of this work, is quite considerable. It's approaching $200 million.
So you guys put up $200 million to invest in a project that's not started yet.
as we pick up a permit, we're required to pay development charges. The development charges are set, and they're set what they're used for. Some of the development charges are used to acquire and upgrade parks. Some of the development charges are used to to upgrade roads, to add bridges, to expand fire department facilities, to expand police department facilities. They're all targeted as to what they're going to be used for, but we've been contributing towards that upgrade since we started in Port Credit with St. Lawrence Starch. So I'm confident that the city is going to follow through with what they're doing. There have been a couple of public meetings where they've already shown where there are some bridge ideas that they have.
That's great.
The sooner they do that, the better. There's no doubt that our new residents are going to create stress on Port Credit around rush hour.
But there's a plan for it, and you put money into it. See, this is what's beautiful about McClarity. He puts money into the traffic, and he's going to help build a bridge. So people don't know this, right?
Now, I saw in one of the renderings there was some sort of almost an amphitheater, outdoor amphitheater. What is the plan for that, and what is the plan, if any, to incorporate the arts and live music in the development?
Well, you may know that we've been a big proponent of live music and the arts in Port Credit since we started 20 years ago.
Right.
We actually bought the property 22 years ago, and we were part of the solution to get Southside Shuffle going.
Wow.
We've supported Canada Day. We've set up a foundation so that there's constant support that each of those festivals can rely on, because what you folks do is why people want to be here.
Right.
The restaurants,
Wow.
the music,
Somebody said
the
it.
activity. It's why our people want to be here, and the demand for Port Credit, why people want to live here revolves around you. We've got the luxury, as do you, right? We can live on the edges of Port Credit in the suburban style,
Right.
Yet we have the urban style within walking distance.
Right, sure we do. Yeah, it's a unique mix that
is.
I have seen in very few places around the world, which brings me to my next question, and that is, and I hate to be dumping on Oakville all the time, but Oakville used to have a vibrant live music scene.
What was the name of that
this
place
is
down
true.
by the river?
Sharky's?
Dumping.
Yeah, Sharky's.
Played there. I'm sure
Yeah,
you played there.
yeah.
And then what happened was Oakville became, especially down by the lake, an enclave exclusively for the wealthy. And people would complain about noise, which is what you described, the charm of having urban and suburban close together. You're going to have some noise. Is there a plan for affordable units so that we don't become just an enclave for the wealthy?
So I won't hide the fact that up until now, what we did at the St. Lawrence Starch property dealt with an average unit size that was considerably larger than what some people would consider to be affordable. Our smallest average size in a building was 1,100 square feet. We've ranged from 500-600 square feet, but up to 3,000, and that created a larger average size. In our first phase of Brightwater, our first phase are two buildings. One is around a 600 square foot average, and the other is about 650 square foot average. Considerably bringing that average down definitely will work for more of the people that have jobs here in Port Credit, the people that we rely on to do the work that we need done here. So we will get more affordable like that.
Right.
We've also committed to an affordable housing building that will be owned by Peel Region, and that's a big part of our solution with the city.
And that's
a rental building within our development.
Well, I think
rental.
that's excellent.
That's
because,
great.
Without a mix, a socioeconomic mix, the vibrancy of a community can disappear quickly. So that's very exciting to hear.
When we talk about what we're trying to do, what we learned from what we did 20 years ago to what we're doing today. It's all about being a people place, being a pedestrian place.
Right.
It can't be a pedestrian place if the people that work at our restaurants, at our offices, have to commute into here.
Right.
So we're trying to create a place where people can live, work, and play.
Right. Now, there's a website for you guys so people can look at the development and they can see, there's what it's going to look like over there, right?
Yeah, so right now it's experiencebrightwater.ca, and right now what you can see on there are images that the public has been seeing really for the last year or so.
Okay.
That's going to change in the next couple of weeks. In the next couple of weeks, all the images of the first phase, a higher quality level of presentation is going to come on board in preparation for us going to sale.
Right.
So 2 weeks. Excellent.
In a couple of weeks,
Excellent.
look for the
That's cool.
experiencebrightwater.ca.
Awesome.
That sounds very, very interesting. Now, one thing I've noticed from the pandemic is that people in charge, the scientists, are saying public policy has to follow the reality on the ground. In other words, we can only open up a school in a safe zone. If the school becomes unsafe, we have to change the plan. If we're in a situation where you've got your first, say, 2,000 units open, or you're halfway there, and traffic becomes unmanageable, is there a mechanism where you can put the brakes on and say, look, we've got to figure out problem A before we can move on to B and C and so on?
I don't think the mechanism is there for the city at this point in time to stop the development from happening.
And
It's
I don't mean
not
stop,
going
I
to-
mean just phase it according
So it's
to
going to
the
be
reality.
phased anyways.
Okay.
If you look at what we did on St. Lawrence Starch took us 8 or 9 years. Now we don't hope to be that long. There were some issues that we had to deal with on St. Lawrence Starch, but this could easily take us 7 or 8 years to get through this. So there's going to be a phasing, and if the city follows through with its plan to try and get a bridge in 10 or so years, then timing might be
The
perfect.
phasing
for
is
that.
built in, I suppose is what
Yeah.
you're saying. And is there an accountability where you could say to the city, look, we've ponied up $200 million over this time. There's still no bridge. Get it done.
It'll be more effective if the community does it. There are a couple of community groups here that are very important. The BIA, the Business Improvement Association, is very effective. Topka and Cranberry Cove Ratepayers Associations are extremely effective. They know the financial contributions that are being made, that are required of us to be made.
Right.
They know that that's money coming in. The faster we build, the faster the city's got the money.
Right.
I'm not worried about there being a solution. I think it's more going to be a political solution over where does that bridge happen.
Right.
There will be people that don't want bridges in certain areas, and there will be people that want bridges to go a certain area. So
Right.
there
Not my
will be
backyard.
some discussion about that.
Right. So, thank you very much. I know you're super busy these days with sales just about to
Yes.
start there. When you see online the discussions and all the rest of it, is there any tidbit of information where you say they just don't get this or that, or I wish someone would talk about this? What do you think is missing from the conversation that maybe is not happening
Or
now?
the biggest misconception about Brightwater that you see right now?
Well, if I follow stuff that's being said online,
Just in general.
Well, in general.
Everyone's got an opinion, and everyone should have an opinion, but it's always better if it's based on some facts.
So first of all, I have to say how progressive our relationship has been with the resident associations, with the BIA, with the city. This was a tough decision. When we launched St. Lawrence Starch 20 years ago for sale, there weren't a lot of people that understood that type of urban village. Basically, we've created an urban village. It was already here. What we've done is we've upgraded what you can do on the street, what people can do. The restaurants followed our clientele. The clubs followed our clientele. The festivals have benefited from it. So that was the first shot at it. The ratepayer associations understand that that's added value. If we do our job right, we're going to add value to all of this community, as we did when we did St. Lawrence Starch. So we've had good, strong support. There are some people that are going to fight us, or have fought us with respect to traffic, with respect to number of units. There are some people that wanted park, so we addressed the park issue as best we could and still do what we needed to do to be able to create a project. If it wasn't us doing it, it would have been somebody else.
Right.
I think having somebody who's got the local feel for it, really works. I mean, I'm not going to do something that I have to hang my head down. I want to lift my head up.
If you were a
I'm
person
proud of what we've
that
done.
was from wherever, clearly it doesn't carry the weight of somebody who can see and smell and understand the reality of what's going on.
Because you're a resident here.
So I
One of my
think
favorite
that's
things
great.
to do is to go sit down along the riverfront and watch the people come by.
Right.
When they're walking by, and what we realize is it's we have a wonderful place that we can walk to.
Right.
But this place is a magnet now to all of Mississauga.
It is.
Right.
And you see it and you hear it, just by being down there.
Right.
Yeah.
Frank, thank you so much
Yeah,
for
so
coming
much.
in today.
Thanks, Frank.
It's been very illuminating, and we look forward. I see it happening every single day from my window, and we're glad that we have somebody local who cares about music and cares about community in charge of that project. Thank you very much, and we will be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Rickford, it's another one of those shows where
We're transitioning out of this cup to another.
I have banished this cup, and we are now on to this delicious beverage.
Yes.
And this company is called Stock and Row, and it was founded by local Port Credit fellas who believe in community, and they also believe in beautiful alcoholic beverages.
Awesome.
So we would like to welcome Justin DeLippi. Justin, did I say that correctly?
Yes, you did. Yeah.
Excellent. It's been a long day. Welcome. Thank you very much for coming. Please tell us how a young man from Port Credit ended up in the cider business.
Well, I actually was part of another cider company startup, Brickwork Cider. So we ended up selling to Labatt after about 18 months. And so I worked for Labatt for a little while after that. And then I kind of wanted to do something for myself and start my own company. So
Awesome.
me and my business partner, Zoe, Zoe's actually from Aurora, but I'm from here. So we ended up starting this together with a few of our investors. And yeah.
Well, it's a delicious product, if you don't mind me saying. This one
Thank
with
you.
the tea in it.
Tell
Yeah,
us
so
about
Fantastic. What's going on
Well,
with
tell
tea
us
and
about
cider?
So I'll explain the white can that you're
Yep,
holding
the
up
white
right there.
dry cider.
So that guy is our original cider. It's English style dry cider. So that can right there has about 5 grams of sugar. I mean, most Ontario ciders are probably around 15 to 25 grams of
Wow.
sugar per can.
Oh wow.
Right.
So yeah, we enjoy a dry cider, so we just kind of thought that maybe the rest of the people would like it, and it's kind of worked. So that cider right there is the #1 selling craft cider and licensees in Ontario.
Well, good for
Nice.
Thank you. So yeah, we did that in our first 9 months of sales, and then we wanted to introduce another cider. So the other one is called
Okay.
Cold Tea. That cider right there is a
This is cold tea.
yeah. So what we
Cold
did,
tea.
cold tea. There you
We
go.
all know what that is.
Well, it's actually cold brewed tea that we added to it, but yeah, I mean, people could
Yeah,
infer
yeah,
something
yeah.
else if they'd like to, but
Wow, this one's not sweet either.
no, so that one actually has zero sugar in it. The
Wow.
cold tea. does.
Zero.
Yeah.
See, now we're talking. See, I was talking before we started this segment about I'm not really a cider guy because they're just too sweet.
Well, cider seems to be
this
taking off. I
it's
mean,
great.
if we think about just the people who work on the show, Mark, who is doing all of the video right now, is a cider drinker. My friend Sarah, who's sort of running the house production, is a cider drinker.
there's a lot of
I don't
cider.
remember this many cider drinkers. Is there a big shift happening from beer drinkers to cider drinkers?
There is. It's slow. I mean, in terms of the big guys, they're gaining a lot of market share. In terms of craft, it's slowly happening. I mean, cider was the drink prior to Prohibition. It was one of the highest selling things there was in North America.
Whoa.
Then they got rid of all the apple orchards that produce cider apples, and then they eventually replanted them about 10 years later with dessert apples, like the apples that we eat today.
Right.
Or culinary apples, if you will. So it's kind of having its own like renaissance, if you will, right now. But yeah, it has been for the last, I would say, 10 years or so. But people are getting more into ready-to-drink beverages or ciders because,
Right.
I mean, beer's a heavy drink. It's kind of hard to drink a lot of. So
Right.
I think that if you're looking at
Drink,
the
if you're
cold-
looking to drink a lot, folks.
Exactly, there you go. So, I know we all like to do
Now,
so.
now, one of the things I loved about your company when I started looking you guys up for this interview is you've been really supportive of restaurants and restaurant workers. Can you tell us a little bit about that initiative?
Yeah, so we started something called the Local Love Project. We teamed up with Locals Only, which is a restaurant, bar and restaurant in Toronto. And together we helped raise over $10,000, roughly $11,000, and we donated that directly to the staff of bar and restaurant workers who are out of staff. So we'd pick a different bar each week, and then we would donate directly to the staff, and got us a lot of media coverage and whatnot. But we've been supported so much by those people that were out of work, and once COVID hit, we were kind of at a standstill because we're not currently in the LCBO. We
Right.
will be in the LCBO. We actually got approved a few weeks ago. We're just waiting on.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, we're
Yeah,
just waiting
right
on
on.
our actual date to be in, which can be a very slow process. So.
And how do
Yeah.
people get the cider now?
So currently you can order online on our website, and there's a link that it's pretty simple. It's like a Shopify page type of thing.
And what's the website for the people at home?
Our website is Wow. I'm gonna have to think about that. Our website's stockandrow.com.
Okay.
And the local stock is the link to the actual website. But
Okay.
if you want to just go to our website, or there's a link to it on our Instagram as well. So, yeah.
I highly recommend both of these delicious malted beverages. Now, before we let you go, Justin, anyone who grew up in Port Credit at some point has had a vomitous experience, and I say that in the best possible way, at Gray's Lake House.
Yeah.
You have a connection to Gray's Lake House.
Yeah, so my stepdad, George Vargaris, was the owner of Gray's Lake House, and your previous guest, Frank, was his landlord, actually.
Wow. It's so incestuous here in Port Credit.
Yeah, it really is. I grew up with Frank's son, Dave. Shout out to SWAT. They own a few gyms called SWAT. But
Right.
yeah, so him and my mother ran it for years, and he now owns a restaurant called the Black Dog Pub in
I have played there as well.
Yeah, played there too.
Yeah, that's his new place. But yeah, so I grew up eating wings there. I didn't have any vomiting experiences. I was a little too young, but now that I'm old enough, I wish I could have. But, yeah.
Damn it, I've missed my opportunity.
Still could happen.
And I think what you're doing is amazing. You have a vision. You create a product. It's really delicious.
It is
You're
very good.
supporting the community. What is your recommendation for young entrepreneurs, up-and-coming entrepreneurs? They want to, as you were saying, you wanted to do something on your own.
Yeah.
What mistakes have you made, and what tips can you give to up-and-comers?
I could fill a whole show with mistakes I've made, but I think the most important thing is to just do it, and then I think that's the way you kind of learn as you go along. I was lucky enough to have so many figures around me that were entrepreneurs, like Dave's father. Even Dave starting SWAT, he started it just after university, him and Kyle Ardill. So I got to see a lot of good business being practiced, but the one thing that I've always sort of prided myself on was taking responsibility for what I'm doing and trying to do something that I'm passionate about. So like I said, I did this before with another company, and then I wanted to do it for myself. It's a fun industry. It's a lot of work. But yeah, you don't pay yourself a lot of sleepless nights, but the reward at the end is kind of what you try to do it for. So my advice would be to just kind of do it, and then maybe figure some things out as long as you go, because you're never going to have all the right answers when you start. You know what I mean?
Or you'll never start.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's hard to kind of just take that jump, but once you take that jump, although it's scary, there's a lot of great learning experiences along the way, and yeah.
Well, congratulations on your success so far. People can, in the next few weeks, hopefully find you in the LCBO?
No, it's going to be longer than that. I mean, the LCBO it takes a while. Once they accept you, unless you're already in there. So this is our first SKU. So once we start applying for ones after, but hopefully we'll be in by spring 2021, no matter what, we won't go past that. But I would say for sure 100% spring 2021. And then in the meantime, we have a facility in Prince Edward County that's almost ready to go. So hopefully that will be ready in the next month or so,
right,
where people can purchase cider to kind of grab and go from there. So
that sounds great.
Yeah.
Well, good luck. Thank you for doing the work you're doing, both as an entrepreneur and as a person who is supporting the community. That was Justin from Stock and Row, and we will be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very excited about our next guest, and also a little bit thirsty, I have to say. This is Massimo Zitti. He is the co-owner and drinks director of Mother Cocktail Bar, which is at 874 Queen Street West in Toronto. He is visiting us from Rome.
From Rome.
We're going to have Roman cocktails
I flew this morning.
evening. And Massimo, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for the invite.
Congratulations on your fantastic restaurant.
Thank
and
you.
what are you going to be making for us today?
We're going to make a couple of drinks. First, we're going to go with something a bit more light and refreshing, using mezcal and tequila together. It's actually probably our most successful drink on the menu. It's called the Honey Plus. And I would like just to give a a little taste to you guys because I think even if it's
Well, you had me at tequila.
I got you.
Yeah, yeah,
Also, it's a great day. A bit of bee pollen in there, a bit of salted lavender honey, fresh lemon juice. It will kind of it's basically a gimlet. I don't know if you know if you're familiar.
I don't,
with it.
but bee pollen.
Bee pollen is one of our ingredients that we're using quite a lot in things. This one we made a cordial out of it. There's also another 7 ingredients that create a composition of this cordial. But at the same time, it's something very light, refreshing, and I thought it was the very good beginning for this conversation and this show for sure.
I'm excited to see it happen.
Second, we go with something called the Woodland Old Fashioned. So that's another our bespoke drink. Comes with our bitters, which is called the Woodland bitters. There's also orange and clove syrup and 3 different liqueurs. You go from the Scotch, which is Highland. Highland Sky, which is basically nice and peaty, very smoky. Also, we go with our Bullet Rye, so nice and dry. And after we go port and sherry reduction infused with cacao. We're gonna start with some fresh lemon juice. I give a huge advice to everybody that is making drink at home. Whatever you make drinks at home, you need to be very careful to use as fresh as juice as possible. 1 ounce of fresh lemon juice. And after we move on with our bee pollen. This is, as I said, it's a bee pollen cordial, but also I've got another set of botanicals. Has elderflower, chamomile, and lemongrass, one of those. After we're gonna move with our sweetener. This is salted honey, which is we've been infusing with lavender flowers. To do all this infusion, we normally use sous vide machines. So we cook everything through thermobath. That means that the temperature is always very constant, it's very linear, and also the infusion is more efficient. And after we go with our mezcal, I like the espadín. I don't know if you guys know anything about mezcal, but this is Mezcal Agua Santa. It's one of my favorite at the moment on the market. Also, the lady that makes it, it's also an incredible person that does all the sales and all, the marketing.
Can you get that at the LCBO?
You can get this one at the LCBO. What I like about this kind of tequila, of the mezcal, which is technically tequila, basically is a kind of espadín. Espadín means it's very vegetal. And that's what kind of you need it for this kind of drink. Bee pollen and kind of grass work so well together. Right. And after we're moving with our tequila, I'll choose a very good one this time, especially for this show. This is Patron. What to say? Reposado, 100%. That's probably one of the best tequila in the world, in my opinion. Also, those guys, they're doing very cool activations. And we're going to go 1 3/4. So it's going to be a good punch.
All right.
Did you guys have breakfast, by the way?
We did have breakfast.
Amazing. So that's all I need to know.
Oh boy.
After we're going to put some ice. The drink will actually be served straight up. But ice is another very important component, and that's something I really want to talk, and that's why I brought my own ice. The reason why I brought my own ice is because dilution is fundamental part of a good making of a drink, and those kind of big cubes make a huge difference. And after we're gonna go through with a little stirring, and we're gonna do a little technique, which is called the throwing technique. So in this case, we're gonna basically pass the liquid to one side to the other and create a kind of aeration. This aeration will be very important for our sense of smell.
Wow.
The glass all the time, make sure that it's nice and cold, especially if you kind of using this technique. You pour inside. To the top. If you see sometimes the drinks are kind of low down, just tell them, hey man, top it up. They should know the specs, right? And on top, we just put in some lemon balm. Lemon balm or citronella in Latin. It's very, very good for open up senses, especially if you use tequila or, again, any vegetable stuff or floral stuff. I really like that kind of smell. Don't know if you guys want to try this one.
Yes, we do.
I love this bar top, by the way. You can throw things.
Spray in the air and smell
You
it?
can spray or use it as a perfume. This is actually a little blend of what we do.
Wow.
And I'll give the drink to you. Shall I put it here? And you guys come and collect it just for distances. I think it's good to respect everybody's idea.
Sure.
Well, yeah, we live in the same. Yeah, we're roommates. Yeah,
We can share.
We can
but
share.
Thank you for that.
Anytime. So as I said, long, right, refreshing, quite punchy.
Wow.
You could drink dozen of those. So if you do come to my bar and do it, at least I can. Is it okay, sir? Is that too strong? Does I wake you up?
No, just alive. Boom.
So the idea is like the sour
Wicked.
part.
Wow.
The sour
It's just
part
a-
kind of open up so your
Yeah,
palate.
you know what,
So you got
it's
this kind
not-
of sibling, this kind of vibrations, and
Yeah.
that's what sourness does.
Yeah, it's not the alcohol content. It just goes poof in your mouth.
It's a lot.
no.
The
It's
idea
like a
is to-
Tarantino movie in my
Exactly.
mouth right now.
A lot of things.
the idea is to do something very clean and crisp, and that's what Gimlet should be. With the mezcal and tequila, especially the mezcal here, plays a very important role because give it the third dimension.
Right.
So the first dimension is sour, the second dimension is obviously floral, and the third dimension is smoky.
Right.
I always looking, whenever I make a drink from a menu, anywhere, even at home, I always looking for the third dimension.
That smokiness at the end is really cool. Well, that is spectacular.
Thank you. Thank you.
Moving along, ladies and
I
gentlemen.
can't stop now. Now I'm gonna
No,
go.
no, no. We're going to have one more coming, right?
Yeah.
So
keep going.
the second drink, it's Woodland Old Fashioned. It was an old fashioned, a very similar version of this old fashioned I used to make in Manchester, where some of my best friends came to see me at the bar. I ran the bar for 4 years.
Like Mark.
Mark was there pretty often.
Yep. Yeah.
Especially when he was in Manchester. And actually, I'm going to start to make a drink. So we're going to go 10 dashes of our bitters.
10 bashes.
Those bitters are not so
I love
strong as Angostura, for instance. So the 10 dashes will be the equivalent of 4 dashes of Angostura.
Dashes.
Oh, dashes. I thought you
Dashes.
said, I like bashes.
Dashes also
Bashes.
works.
Bam, bam, bam. I love it.
So this is the lacto-fermented
Wow.
grapes, and we got 10 drops as well. After we're going to use another very important component, which is our syrup. The syrup is actually orange and cloves. It takes 24 hours to make because what we do, we create something called oleosaccharum. Oleosaccharum is basically an infusion between sugar and fruit zest.
Okay.
So we let that steep under vacuum for 24 hours. All the oils of the zest come out, and after we make the syrup with that.
This is like science, man.
I've been studying science and drinks for
This is science.
quite a while. I do think that whenever you go to a place, a bar, a restaurant, there should be always that kind of part.
I really don't think that there's many places at all doing what you're doing right here.
Which is
Zero, I'm thinking.
Thank you. Which is one of the reasons why when I moved here, I was running a place called Dilo. I was the bar manager there, and it was best restaurant, Canada restaurant 5 years ago. And after I moved as a bar manager, bar chef. Obviously, bar chef, very molecular style. But I thought that we could say our own thing without being so fancy. Port, sherry. This has been reduced with cacao nibs. This is basically give a very good tannin to your drink.
Right.
You will feel like the tannin will overpower the sweetness. So at the beginning you think, oh, this is sweet. And after you go, oh no, this is balance. There's at least a lot of
It's
feedback.
like a film.
Exactly.
I'm having a film.
I believe so. I think, the way that, for instance, I treat my cocktail list is like an album, it's like a record.
Right.
Every time I come out with a list, or every time I come out with a menu, I always, judge, is this going to be a concept album? Is this going to be... It's true. It's going to be a one-off. It's going to be...
Should I come out with a hit first?
Exactly. Which is sometimes
That's
on
true.
your menu, you need those because this is your selling
Yeah.
point.
Now, I know you're busy there
Yep.
conjuring, but your restaurant, Mother Cocktail Bar, has found a unique way of pivoting during COVID. Can you
Yeah.
talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So I'm Italian and my business partner is Chinese. My business partner, Austin, was actually in China during, obviously, the beginning of COVID. So he came back telling me, man, we're going to close the doors. And I obviously laughed at him and I said, man, don't even tell me by joke because, we just opened. And the last thing I want to think is like, we got to close the bar. Funny enough, a week after, my mom called me and was like, you don't know what's going on here. Everything is closing down. So we knew that we had to close somewhere later, right? And what happened that we had an idea of turning our business into something a bit different, but at the same time, something functional.
Right.
And the idea was to be a grocery store. So we basically go in contact with all our vendors. So all the people that we already buy fruit and food from it. And basically those guys, they give us a very good price of some ingredients. And we start to selling online through boxes. What happened? They went kind of viral. So we did 520 boxes in the first 4 weeks.
Oh,
So
wow.
while everybody was locking down, I was working 120 hours doing something that I would never thought I will do in my life. By the way,
Wow.
this is the Woodland Old Fashioned.
Talk about
It's ready.
Talk about
foresight.
and being flexible.
Exactly.
You know?
Also, there's another thing. I'm a jiu-jitsu fighter. So, one of the things that you learn in jiu-jitsu is that there's never until you don't tap until you really have to tap. So
So you just take that.
I do think that was my mindset. You know, we're gonna reinvent ourselves. We're gonna go with it. We're gonna use the word transformations instead of closure or fear or anything.
Right.
And what happened? WTO got involved. The Global News got involved. Shopify did a huge video about us. Shopify is the third biggest Canadian company as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is bigger than Spotify, which I didn't know. I thought was now actually related.
Oh, I don't
But
even
there's nothing related
mention
to it.
Spotify at
Exactly.
all.
I listen to Spotify much more than
Wow.
Shopify. Tell me what you think. Don't lie.
There's a lot of things going on there, man.
Yeah.
That is really delicious,
Thank you.
but it's also
Oh my
delicious
God.
is to, I think, simple. Delicious is like an ice cream. This is, this is,
So again, you got the layers. The sweetness come through at the beginning. You got the smoke at the end.
Well, yeah.
And anything, you got the tannin.
like
at
you
the
have to
end.
wait 5 minutes.
Exactly.
Wow.
And it's very long on your tongue, which is very important.
This
Yes,
defines
it really
the
is.
word
bear in mind that
cocktail.
this is at the bar, come with a big rock of ice, so it's not
Yeah,
cute.
I know.
And comes with a beautiful set, so we actually bring you to the woods.
That is absolutely
My
delicious.
God. Now-
It was a pleasure to learn all of this, to watch you work, to watch a professional who's the best at what they do. But you also are creative in a different way.
Yep.
And we are going to take a short break
Yep.
and come back with, ladies and gentlemen, something that is very unique and very musical, and we're excited to see. We will be right back.
See you later.
Welcome back, my friends. What a fantastic afternoon, evening we've had. Isn't this delicious?
Oh, it's a glass full of magic.
Cheers to that. So our friend Massimo delivered this magic to us, and he is also in the magic delivery business because he's got something else quite interesting. He is in a band with his daughter Gabrielle, and they are called Smiles, and they're going to bring us their brand of rock and roll right now. Welcome to the show, guys. Look forward to hearing it.
Good evening. Welcome. Welcome back, actually. We are the Smiles.
What is it about this world? Is it just about sadness? Is it something about this world? You can call it madness. Are we together or apart?
Please take my hands and make me feel good. I wanna lean here on your side.
Side, side,
Something is happening. I know that I'm a fool.
fool, fool.
I love the whole world. Yeah. Are we together or apart? Are we together or apart?
Are we walking inside of nothing? Is this love or is this nothing? What is it about this world?
This world
Is it just about sadness?
sound.
Is it something about this world? You can call it madness.
Are we together or apart?
Apart,
Are we together or apart? Are we together or apart? Are we together or apart?
Make you smile, you have no soul. We will be right back. Welcome back, my friends. Rick, it's been another cocktail cider induced, but I've learned from our previous tasting experiences not to indulge too much because hammered by the end of the show.
Well, you certainly get a buzz, man. But we're good today.
We have a fantastic musical guest right now. Her name is Katya. I met her, I don't know, maybe 5-7 years ago. She showed up to Jam Night and asked to do a song, and she had such a great vibe on stage, wrote really great songs, and we are lucky enough to have her here today. Katya, welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey.
It's going
exciting.
great. So,
Oh, I love this.
Can you-
What a great setup.
thank you. Can you take us from when we first met and you were a young up-and-coming you're still young, a young up-and-coming songwriter. You ended up getting a publishing deal, getting a record deal, moving to Nashville.
Yeah.
Talk us through that experience, how it started, how it happened.
Yep. I feel like I'm 87 years old now. It's been quite a life indeed. Yeah, just from that shy little kid asking, hey, Tom, can I play on Jam Night? I don't really know what song I want to do, to, starting to learn how to put myself out there in terms of understanding that my voice is important and, people might be interested in what I have to say and write about. It's been quite a journey, but you said it best, it was, it was just a lot of me putting myself out there, some online opportunities. I had entered a contest, and I ended up, through that opportunity, I won it, and I ended up getting signed to a publishing deal and record deal, which was amazing, and it was complicated and beautiful, and I traveled and I wrote every single day, and it was just an outstanding opportunity.
Right.
And then kind of came full circle, and now back here in Canada, and I'm grateful that I'm back in Canada for sure for these times.
Well, we're happy to have you back here.
Thank you so much.
And you've been continually writing songs, and I noticed when I looked you up on YouTube, you have covers that have millions of views. Talk to us about that, how you got there, and what effect that had on your career.
You know what? I think I just decided one day, it was kind of towards the end of my record deal and publishing deal, and I'll be honest with you, I was going through it. I was really sad. So I just really thought about it. I'm like, okay, what can I do in my sadness that's, I don't feel like leaving my house right now. What can I do that's still musical and still feels like me? So one day I just decided to start posting covers on YouTube. It was mostly pop covers, some country covers too, just right up my alley in terms of the things that I like. And slowly people started to watch them, and I got a few features, which I was really grateful for, on a couple other channels. And
Now, what is a feature for those of us that don't know?
Yeah, it's so you work together with someone from another channel, and they post content that you're in on their channel as well.
It's like a bigger channel, the more
Yeah,
followers,
so like
more
bigger
subscribers.
channel.
Right.
Exactly.
It's like a weird way the modern getting signed is maybe you got, or a distribution deal, you get put out through.
Yeah, it's
that
kind of
YouTube
like that.
You know what? It's been such a freeing experience because I answer to no one but
Right.
myself.
You shouldn't, in the first place, you should answer just to you, but go ahead.
Well, the business, you guys know, the business is a complicated place. There's lots of people involved and a lot of decisions, and especially when you're as young as I was getting signed, there's some
Now, what's
definitely
your
complex
advice to
situations.
young women?
Yeah.
We have young emerging artists on the show all the time.
I just saw one who
Like,
was
this is
amazing.
secret.
Yeah.
What?
But what's
That's
your
crazy.
advice to a young woman? She's 18, she's 19, she's 20, and she is going into the teeth of the music business. What would you say to her as
Oh
maybe,
my gosh, I just
maybe
got
some
chills
advice
you
going
asked
in?
me this question because it's such a. I wish someone had told me back in the day to always trust your gut and to always recognize that your voice is important, because a lot of people will try to steer you in all kinds of directions, but at the end of the day, what I learned is there wasn't actually anything wrong with me.
No.
That I wasn't crazy. you know, I won't go into specifics, but,
But if you don't do
always
what
trust
we
your
tell you to
own
do, you're
voice.
crazy. Is that what would happen?
Basically, you're trying to stay true to yourself and what brought you there in the first place, and don't let anybody try to waver you and try to make you something that you're not comfortable being with, even
100%.
though you want to, you know, oh my God, they give me an advance or whatever it is. I should do what they're telling me to do, and if it ain't right for you, and you shouldn't do it. And you guess what? You don't have to in these days.
No.
Right?
No, if there's anything I learned from YouTube specifically, it's like you can start your career or whatever you want to do. You can just start it from your living room. You know, it's been a journey for me learning how to film things and learning camera work and learning
us too.
about
I don't know what that
audio
means.
and-
Us too. We're learning as we
Right.
go.
Well, I'm seeing all of this, and it's you guys are doing an amazing job.
Well,
but
I think it's such a great lesson, probably the most important lesson, because it happens in the music business all the time. We love you, and we're going to sign you, and then they want you to be something else. But didn't you sign us because you love this? But
Yeah.
you have a great voice, and you write great songs.
Thank you
and
so much.
we're going to just take 1 minute break to get you set up.
Yeah,
And
that
we'll be
sounds
right
great.
back with a beautiful song from Katya.
So this one is one that I'm releasing, I think, in the next couple weeks, and it's called To the Moon. I hope you like it. The stars are a spotlight, slow dance until we see the sunrise. Ain't enough in the sky to let you know what I'm feeling tonight. Boy, there ain't no backup plan. I don't know what's in store, but hold my hand and take a chance. What are you waiting for? I'll be a renegade, run away, running barefoot in the summer rain. Oh, I would follow you from Seoul to Saskatoon. We can find our own hideaway. All we need is a willow and a riverbank. So all you gotta do is love me to the moon and back. You're a champagne hurricane, sophisticated but totally insane. I wouldn't have it any other way. Take me down like a tidal wave. Boy, there ain't no backup plan. I don't know what's in store, but hold my hand and take a chance. What are you waiting for? I'll be a renegade, run away, running barefoot in the summer rain. Oh, I would follow you from Seoul to Saskatoon. We can find our own hideaway. All we need is a willow and a riverbank. So all you gotta do is love me to the moon and back. We'll be a renegade, renegade. Run away, run away. All you gotta say is that you feel the same. I'll be a renegade, run away, running barefoot in the summer rain. Oh, I will follow you from Seoul to Saskatoon. Can't find our own hideaway. All we need is a willow and a riverbank. So all you gotta do is love me, 'cause love me, 'cause love. All you gotta do is love me to the moon. All you gotta do is love me to the moon and back. The stars are a spotlight, slow dance until we see the sunrise. Thank you guys so much.
It's Katya, ladies and gentlemen. Find her on YouTube. Just search Katya on YouTube and you will find her. Instagram, she is at Katya Zoo, as in going through the zoo. Thank you so much for coming in today.
Yes.
Thank you. That was so
We'll
much
be
fun.
right back.
Bye.
Hello, this is Sean Pynchon, and I'm going to play a song called The River. This was originally crafted by my friend Steve Strongman back in 2007, so this is my version from 2019. Won't somebody help me if you please? My baby's gone with the breeze. Will forever carry me far away from my home. To my baby, where can you be? Lord, I just don't know. Will forever carry me far away from my home. To my baby, where can you be? Lord, Lord, I don't know. Lord, I don't know. Oh, if the river in the well, it run dry and I lay down in my bed. Won't you lay me here the end of time till my heart's finally dead? Till my heart's finally dead. I cry, river, river, carry me far away from my home. To my baby, where can you be? I just don't know. River, river, where can you be? Always from my home. Where, no, where can you be? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Shore Grill and Grotto has always been a part of the community, and during these changing times, we are still here for you. Although things have changed, it's constant change that made us what we are today. Our restaurant is now open and is still committed to making fresh, fabulous food. We use only the highest quality ingredients to deliver great food consistently. Relax in our welcoming atmosphere with over 6,000 square feet of outdoor patios. Come and enjoy our outstanding customer service that caters to families and corporate events, as well as private dining and functions in our event rooms. It is always what we have done. It is what we will continue to do. So, what are you doing? Drop by and see us. We would love to see you.
Shore Grill and Grotto, it's a sure thing.
less.